Welcome to the program. If it is Monday, it means we are spending time with John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Always good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Good Monday to you.
Same to you.
All right. Let's begin. We've had a lot of international activity since the last time we sat down. Terrorism strikes in London again.
Right.
And from what we know, ISIS is claiming initial credit. Really, though, a bulk of the reaction has been to the president's reaction to this terrorist strike. Tell me what is more problematic for you, that he got his news from Drudge and not intelligence officials on this terrorist attack? He says we need a travel ban, which we don't call a ban. Or the way that he took out of context the mayor of London's comments about not being alarmed?
It's got to be a tie between gets his news from Drudge, which is just instant, unverified gossip about an international incident involving our best modern friend in the world, and that he took out of context that the mayor said we're gonna have a greater police presence out in the street. Don't be alarmed when you see more police. And the American president is taking plainly out of context to try to exploit for his own political purposes, apparently, this incident by criticizing the mayor of London for saying don't be alarmed, as if he and implying that he said don't be alarmed about terrorism, which is not what he said at all. It's like Churchill criticizing FDR for saying we have nothing to fear but fear itself. You know, it's like if Churchill had Twitter and he'd said, "What's the matter with you, Frank? I mean, you'd have a lot to fear. We need to fear." It trivializes the United States of America for us to have such a simpleton demagogue as president saying those kinds of things at a time like that. It's hard for me to remain calm and properly and not overstate, but I don't think that is an overstatement.
That's a new phrase for you, simpleton demagogue.
Yeah.
I've not seen you write or say that.
Just occurred to me right there, but I don't think it's strong enough. I've got to work on toughening it up. But this, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, we don't have a better friend. We have, I mean, through history, Churchill and FDR, Thatcher, Reagan, Clinton / George W. Bush and Tony Blair. Look at what the friendship, and look at the alliances, and look what they've done. And we've got a guy sitting over here without benefit of facts from his own intelligence community, criticizing by taking out of context a comment by the mayor of London. It's outrageous. It simply is outrageous.
Have you seen the move to take the president's tweets and put them in White House press statement forms? There is an app apparently now that is grabbing his tweets and making them official White House statements. Several of the New York Times reporters are pushing this around and saying this might not be a bad idea because these are official statements from the president.
He's always the president of the United States, and when he's communicating, it's at the highest level, tragically. So yeah, I mean, it's as if it's a formal statement. It carries the same. Does it carry the same weight? Or has the world?
Well, I think that's their argument, is that if you put it on White House stationery,
then he doesn't get a pass on this kind of nonsense.
Tweet
and he should not get a pass.
He
should not get a pass.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to check it out. All right, so Trump pulls out of the Paris Accords, who pulls the U.S. out of the Paris Accords on climate change. Bigger problem to you, abdication of American leadership on this issue, or the potential for harming the fragility of the earth?
Well, can I have another tie? Because an abdication of American leadership, potentially, the problem with that, I mean, in a vacuum, it is an abdication of American leadership, of moral leadership in the world, and that's a problem, but the problem only manifests itself if it has an effect on our stewardship of the planet and the efforts that were being made by the greater part of the world to do something about it. So I can't, they go together. One affects the other.
The argument will be, though, that you've got, is really 4 years going to make that big of a difference?
Well, I was getting ready to address that. That's exactly where I was headed. The real, specific, substantive effect is minimal. First of all, because this is a spirit of cooperation without any really binding rules on anybody. 2, getting out of it is a process. And 3, nothing is to stop the United States from getting out of it and still having good citizens in our business community and in our subdivisions, cities and states, to abide by it. So substantively, it's not that big a deal. What is a big deal is that this president is behaving like a petulant child, saying we're not going to play. China didn't. We got a worse deal in this than China did, and this is not fair to the United States. And we're just going to not participate in an international alliance to deal with the planet's greatest challenge. America's modern place in the world has been to be the moral leader of this kind of thing, and this guy we got now is simply isolating America from that under some slogan of "Put America First." I'm going to do this for Pittsburgh, where the mayor says we're for the Paris Accord. So that's my general antipathy toward Trump went exponentially worse over the last few days. If you can't tell by my tone,
he's made your blood boil.
Well, it's what he's doing to the country, to our leadership in the world. I find
this
it
is the reaction
distressing.
he wants from you, though, John. You are the reason why he is.
Well, do you realize
the
how cynical that is, though? I mean, how about we just tell the truth and not worry about the political implications? If this appeals to his base, and his base wants to keep electing him with 3 million fewer votes in the next election, okay, that's the way it goes. That's the United States. But I'm just telling you what I know to be true. All right?
Let's talk about a last Trump topic here. Later this week, former FBI Director James Comey is going to testify on the Hill. We know it will be dramatic. Will you be tuning in to watch it live, or are you just going to wait and catch the recap on everything?
I told you before we started that the tweet from Alex Burns of the New York Times that this is sweep weeks for C-SPAN. It will be highly dramatic, but I think I know what's going to happen. These committees are run by the Republicans, and the Republicans are going to make it all about some Democratic thing.
It's going to be about leaks.
Leaks and unmasking. They're going to make it all about something that they can throw back on the Obama administration. But Comey, I believe, is a good and honorable and stand-up guy and an articulate guy, and I suspect there will be moments of strong testimony from him. Merely, I don't think we're going to play on any new ground, but to hear him say himself what the New York Times and Washington Post have said over the last few weeks will be dramatic. Yes.
Right. Let's take a commercial break. We're going to come back with more with John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
If it's Monday, it's John Brummett. He is in studio with us from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to have you, as I said earlier in the program. Let's shift gears.
It's still good to have you.
It is still good to have you,
Good.
even through that first half of the program there. Let's talk about Senator Tom Cotton, a guest. I sat down with him about this time last week, actually a week ago tomorrow on Tuesday. Tom Cotton says that Russia is not our friend. He placed a lot of blame of where we are now with Russian relations, despite all of the Trump-Russia brouhaha, on President Obama not standing up to Vladimir Putin and to Russia. You take issue with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't?
But did the Obama administration not stand up to them, or did they?
Are there sanctions on Russia?
There are some.
Did the Obama administration kick some folks out of the country or living in some mansion over on the eastern shore of Maryland? And did Michael Flynn, of this guy we've got now as president, call them and offer to let them back in pretty soon? Did the Russians help, according to our intelligence agencies, defeat Hillary Clinton because they did not like her? Yes. Yes. Did Donald Trump call in the ambassador and who's the other guy, the ambassador, and then the bigger guy, the Russian guy, and tell them some intelligence stuff that we wouldn't even tell our best friend, Great Britain. And then for Tom Cotton to sit here and say the Russians are not our friend. I'm glad to see the Democrats are coming around after 8 years of conciliating and appeasement. What an outrageous thing to say. And even if they can make an argument about that, he should be held accountable. And I understand you had a timed interview and other things to ask. For what about this guy that you, because the big
Well, I asked him about that, and his response to, for instance, Jared Kushner's potential role in some of this was he didn't see anything wrong with that.
Okay.
That these types of communications happen and should happen.
Does
So
he
does that not
believe?
surprise
Does he
you?
believe the Russians interfered in the American election to help his party's candidate and hurt the Democratic candidate? And how does he square that with his narrative that the administration that Putin didn't want is the one that's been conciliating and appeasing? It's an outrage. It's comical.
As
it's
a
comical.
member of the Intelligence Committee, he has told me on more than one occasion, Senator Cotton has, is that they are looking at the evidence on that, but no conclusions have been drawn yet. You're drawing a conclusion. Have you seen all the evidence?
Have you seen what the Intelligence Committee was saying as late as last year? James Comey? Do you follow? James Comey has testified that they
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think the evidence is there. I think it's.
Well,
I don't think we have to wait and see any more evidence at this point in time.
This guy's a senator. Okay, he's not a lowly typer for the local newspaper. He's a senator, and he is enabling this outrage of a president that we have with that kind of nonsense, that kind of affront to our intelligence.
Why do you think he does that?
Because Republicans are all in for this guy. Their midterm chances, their future chances depend on this guy not being as crazy as he is, and try to cover for him. That's what I think.
My question to Senator Cotton was specifically, will this have electoral consequences for the Republicans? I didn't get a straight answer on that. So.
Well, you can't make a guy answer a question, but you can call attention to the fact that he doesn't answer it, or doesn't even get asked it in that case. In terms of how do you square your narrative blaming the Democrats when the evidence is strongly to the contrary? Yeah. Anyway,
you need to get him on the phone.
This is the other thing. I'm a constituent of his. I've got a column that's widely read in the state. I know I've written things over the years that hurt his feelings, apparently. But it wouldn't hurt them to respond to a yes or no question that I emailed the press secretary, but they don't acknowledge my existence, which is okay.
I acknowledge your existence.
Well, they don't. They don't. And I think that's kind of offensive. You know, I do. I mean, politicians throughout time have dealt with critical commentary, and be bigger than it, to respond to the question. Anyway, you had more about Tom Cotton to say, right?
Well, he also, we talked about Medicaid, we talked about what's going on with healthcare reform there, and I think he basically would like to see more states' rights involved in the application of Medicaid, and certainly a shrinkage of where it has expanded to under the Obamacare rules. Do you disagree with that interpretation?
I don't know. Say it again.
He wants to see Medicaid shrink back to what it was original intent was.
No, I don't know that.
To see more
I don't know that.
rights.
He does want to see more states' rights, but there's no. I have no basis. Of course, I don't talk to him as much as you do, which is to say I don't talk to him at all. There's no basis for that full conclusion, because he has said he's one of 11 senators working on this Senate plan. And he at times has indicated that, well, I don't know if this is so. You tell me. It seems to me that he has been receptive to Asa Hutchinson's mode of operation in Arkansas, which has been to avail ourselves of Medicaid expansion, but make it more restrictive and put some conservatizing requirements on it. I even had the idea that Cotton had been convinced by Asa to try to work toward that kind of thing. So you can both have states' rights and you can both make Medicaid tougher, but accept the expansion population. You can do that. Asa Hutchinson is trying to do it, and I thought Tom Cotton might be doing Asa's bidding quietly in this.
He still may be.
He may be. What I got yesterday was we need to reform Medicaid and get it efficient and lean and mean, And he closed by saying, so that it can go back to what it was before, meaning, which he said, for the elderly, as in nursing homes, for the disabled, and for the severely poor. You know how severely poor you had to be to qualify for Medicaid before Medicaid expansion? 38% of poverty. We had one of the stingiest Medicaid programs in the country. Is that what he's saying? And if he is saying, just go back to the severely poor, is he saying we're going to undo ACE's Medicaid expansion? We're going to let his state budget go and the rural hospitals go? Is he? Is he? But
I think it's too early to tell.
It's never. Why is it too early to tell?
It's not going to be one person's decision.
There is no. He is the senator elected by Arkansas.
Sure.
The Medicaid expansion, Arkansas Works, is an Arkansas program. He is here in Arkansas talking about the issue. He is in a position of influence. It is perfectly fair, more than fair, it is compelling. Tell us what you think about Medicaid expansion. Tell us what you think about what we're doing in Arkansas. Are you fighting for it to protect it? If so, how? That's my view.
The gauntlet's been thrown down. All
okay.
Right. You got your questions out there. We're going to see if we
get
answers.
Well, I'm not going to get any answers.
Well,
I need you to get the answers for me. Get him on the phone.
All right. John Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. You can catch him 3 days a week in the newspaper and a 4th day online and every day on Twitter.
Every hour.
Every hour on Twitter.
The Twitter.
I want you to tweet the Comey testimony.
Live tweet it?
I think that'd be good. It could be better than a Razorback game.
I don't think so. Do you know a guy with I was running. I was. Never mind. I was going to brag on my Razorback football tweets, but never mind. I'll live tweet whatever you want me to live tweet. If you'll ask Tom Cotton to call me.
I'll do that.
Okay.
That's a fair trade right there.
All right.
John Brummett, thanks. That's all for today's program. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.